So I almost gaslit myself into liking Mario Kart World. This was a funny story that I wish I could have included in my main review, but I couldn't, either because it felt too random to include or would ruin the pacing of the review as a whole, so I feel like I should mention it at least here on the second channel. If you haven't watched my review, by the way, feel free to check it out either at the end screen or I'll link it in the description. And sorry if the footage is boring, it is Mario Kart World, but I feel like I should get as much as I can out of the game because it is $80. But I'll probably spice it up during editing, maybe with a cool trick here or there, but I'll probably be a bit more laid back in that department. But anyways, I almost gaslit myself into liking Mario Kart World, and this stems from the start of the game's promotion and trailers. So I already knew that the game was pretty unappealing to me initially. The open world didn't seem too interesting. The normal Mario Kart formula was changed up because you had to drive to the other tracks during the Grand Prix, and the game itself was listed as $80, which is absolutely abhorrent in my opinion. But it is Nintendo and Mario Kart we're dealing with, so I had a bit of hope that there would be something in there that would be super fun and appealing to me. They did reveal the parkour system with grinding and wall riding, and I felt that caught my attention the most, but I wanted to see how the mechanic fleshed out throughout all the tracks in the open world. So when the game launched with the Switch 2 as well, I figured I might as well get the Switch 2 with the bundle because I was certain that Mario Kart World should be good and at least worth $50 with the bundle. But maybe it was the purchase of the Switch 2 and like some sort of honeymoon phase that got me super hopeful for Mario Kart World. But after playing through a lot of the Grand Prix Cups and the Knockout Tour Cups, it still wasn't very appealing to me. There wasn't anything in the game yet that clicked or got my attention entirely. It was still a bit boring with the routes in between tracks, but the main tracks themselves were pretty fun every now and then. I got a few friends to come over and play Mario Kart World as well, but it still wasn't completely worth it in my opinion. It was still good, it was actually better with friends, but nothing in the game yet still told me that this was entirely worth my money, you know? And that's also when I figured out that the battle mode was complete garbage, which really sucked, but I was still ignoring that just in favor of the races and hoping that it was still worth it. So that's when I get to the end of the Grand Prix Cups. I get to the final cup, I forgot the name of it. It's probably like Crown or Lightning Cup, I forgot. But I finally get to it. They have that cool little cutscene with the reveal that you can finally get to Rainbow Road. And, you know, I had my interest peaked, you know. This could be the big, this was totally worth $80 moment, right? And I get through the first 3 tracks. They're still basically the same as the rest of the Grand Prix Cups. But I'm still hoping that once I get to Rainbow Road, it'll be like a big reveal or a huge realization that the game and its core gameplay is a lot deeper or better and more fulfilling than it seems. I don't know why I don't know why I suspended my belief so hard during that moment, but I just really wanted Mario Kart to be a good game. I still held out that last bit of hopium or something, and once I finally got to that big ramp into the Rainbow Road, there was just 1 minute with that reveal that really caught my attention and made me think the game was worth $80. It was the fact that Rainbow Road looked so flashy and dazzling, mixed in with the fantastic music that was backing the entire thing. I felt like Danny DeVito in that theater scene, like, oh my god, I get it, you know? It's just, I had that moment and it was spectacular. But after a minute of driving through Rainbow Road, I realized that gameplay-wise, I was barely doing anything at all. There was barely any challenging turns. A lot of the gimmicks and Rainbow Road difficulty was just gone for some reason. And then I realized that they just turned Rainbow Road into a route. And that right there was the biggest disappointment I figured out. What really upsets me is that people hid Rainbow Road as a spoiler because I assume unlocking Rainbow Road was a profound experience or something that should be experienced by yourself. And the experience was great for a minute, but the gameplay side of things just wasn't worth it. It looked great, the music was fantastic, but the gameplay still was boring. It turned Rainbow Road into a route, and the routes are the worst part of the game by far. So after being let down by Rainbow Road, I played through a lot of free roam. It still didn't catch my attention. And I also played through online, and that was a lot more fun than racing against CPUs, to be fair, but it still wasn't enough to redeem the whole game for me. And after about 2 weeks of playing Mario Kart World, I actually just flat out dropped the game and the Switch 2 as a whole. I didn't touch my Switch 2 for so long, it actually started catching dust. To be fair, that's also because the Switch 2's console launch was pretty slow with games, but even then, Mario Kart World did not help things. So after not playing the Switch 2 or Mario Kart World for a few months, I figured, you know what, I might as well make a review on it because I feel like I didn't get my money's worth and I might as well get something else out of the game while I still can. So I made the review and gave it a bit more of a critical look, and I realized that Mario Kart World was 100% not worth $80, let alone the $50 with the Switch 2 bundle. And the review itself is actually doing pretty well, which I'm kind of shocked at, but I'm also a bit more shocked by all the negative comments I got under it. To be fair, Mario Kart World is a very divisive game as it is right now, so I probably should have expected a bit more negative comments, but the negative comments didn't really leave any substance or add anything to the conversation. It was either just blind hate or saying that I was wrong with little to no evidence. There was only one real comment that actually agreed with most of my points but disagreed with a few of them and actually thoroughly explained why, but everyone else just either wrote me off as a hater or said I was a trend chaser. And there was one comment here that I actually wanted to highlight, which unfortunately got deleted, but I thankfully saved a screenshot of it because I found it really funny. So the main hate comment was nothing really special, it was just saying the same stop hating the game argument, but it's the reply thread under it that really caught my attention because one guy was supporting the main hate comment saying all these reviewers just say the same thing over and over just to follow trends while barely playing the game for themselves. And that same guy sent a different reply that he doesn't even watch the reviews to begin with. So a different guy asks, how do you know that all these reviewers say the same thing if you don't even watch them? And he just says, comments. And I feel like the two replies under that sum up my thoughts exactly, because that is so funny and also completely baffling. Because how do you watch multiple reviews on Mario Kart World, pause the video to not watch it intentionally, and look through the comments to vaguely decipher what the reviewer says and hate them based on what you presume to be a bad take or a negative review? That just feels like a lot of hoops to jump through. Like, I don't know, either this guy is rage baiting, which is hilarious if it is, or this is like a very real thing this person's doing, like pausing a video and just scrolling through comments to get a vague idea of what the reviewer's saying. If that's the case, this guy has some like extreme dedication that I kind of look up to, because I would be tired of doing that multiple times for multiple reviews and just trying to decipher what these reviewers are saying. Like, that's actually insane. I kind of respect that, honestly. But back to the actual main review though, a few of the hate comments did say that it was trend chasing or that I was hating because it's popular and it gets more attention. Obviously that's not true based on my previous reviews, and I wouldn't spend $500 on both the console and the game just to hate on it. But I do think that it is unfortunate that more negative news gets more attention than more positive glowing reviews. Obviously, I'd like to make a more positive review on a game that's actually good, but I also can't just blindly glaze a game because I want to avoid being negative. You know, if I didn't like what I played, I have to explain that in a review, not only because that's what a review is, but also because if I didn't, that would be both misleading and would also disappoint people who wanted to buy the game just because I said only positive things about a game. And pointing out bad parts of a game is still very important to the developers because that allows them to either improve the game either through updates or through a separate game entirely. That's how Cyberpunk 2077 went from the disaster that it was at launch to a full-on success with a lot of support backing it. Besides, I wouldn't intentionally buy a bad game I knew I wouldn't like just to make a bad review on it. First of all, that's my personal money that I'm spending on the game. And second of all, I barely make any money from my videos. I haven't even broken 5K views on my previous videos. At this point, I make these videos for myself. And look, if you disagree with some of my points or any of my reviews at all, you're more than welcome to comment about it and explain why. I don't want to deter people from sharing their thoughts because that's partially why I make videos to begin with. You know, I share my thoughts and then you can share yours if you want. I only highlight a few comments in this video because I found them really funny, and that's basically it. And I should also clarify that you shouldn't be looking for these comments or anything because, again, I just found them entertaining and I felt like mentioning them. I should also mention this other point because I don't know when I'll get another chance to, but right when I scheduled the upload and posts for the Mario Kart World review, the info I talked about with the Switch 2 bundle was almost immediately outdated. I mentioned that the Mario Kart World bundle was the best deal, but it may or may not be limited time based on some disclaimer text being erased for it. But then, about a day or two after my upload, the bundle was immediately confirmed by GameStop to be out of production. So after all the bundles are sold out, you'll have to buy Mario Kart World separately for $80. And this is the second time my video's been slightly outdated almost immediately after uploading it. But I'm kind of curious on how much Mario Kart World will sell after people realize they have to spend $80 for it. I'm expecting it to decline a bit, but it is Mario Kart, so who knows. Anyways, if you haven't watched my Mario Kart World review yet, you might as well watch it here on the end card, or if I can't put it there, I'll link it in the description. You'll watch it if you want, or maybe not, and maybe I'll post another video here in the future.